Welcome to our podcast series, where we bring together industry leaders to explore how Treasury is evolving in a more connected and real world. Today, we have Sylvia from CIMB Bank with us. Hi, Sylvia. Glad to have you here today. Today, let's explore how tokenization has transforming from a pilot stage to a mass adoption in a global treasury management. Tokenized deposit is a vehicle which is able to help us achieve a goal of modernize our treasury. I joined N about 10 years ago to set up the foreign exchange center. I remember at that time, our treasury still operated like normal treasury. We buy standardized product from banks. Starting from like 6-7 years ago, we had increasing pressure to provide 24/7 instant liquidity to support cross-border payment such as instant tax refund or 24/7 top-up and withdrawal from e-wallets. And then when we went to bank again, bank told us, sorry, Kelvin, we work 9 to 5 around the clock. We have cut-off times. We will not be able to provide instant funding, but we go through the T+1, T+2 funding based on our banking system and also probably SWIFT cross-border money movement rules. And then we went back into technology like fintech always do. We found out blockchain is a technology may help us to address this. So we started our blockchain-based treasury platform. We call it Whale 1.0. I remember that we piloted that from 2000 and 2021. In 2022, we realized with some core banking partners like tokenized bank deposit is something that we can jointly create to achieve the purpose of moving liquidity, atomic settlement, basically information flow and fund flow move at the same time, to move liquidity around the globe 24/7 instantly. I remember it sounds too good to be true at that time. But in 2023 and 2024, we joined Project Guardian in Singapore and co-created tokenized deposit with a few global banks. With that technology, we started to be able to move some G7 currencies around the world between Hong Kong, Singapore, London, Luxembourg, and New York, our main treasury centers, 24/7 instantly. That greatly encouraged us to see this is not a pilot technology. This is not a technology on the paper. It's actually something that we can bring in to the real global treasury management and help us to achieve much more efficient global money movement, much more cost-effectively transparent payment experience. So today, Sylvia, let's talk about this in Asia Pacific, specifically in ASEAN context. From your perspective, why has tokenization gained so much attention in Treasury in the recent years?
Thank you, Kelvin. It's a privilege to be here. Very inspired by your experience in terms of what you have seen in the past and coming to where you are today. Well, I've been a career banker all my life. And when you mention traditional finance, that's very close to my heart. So looking at the sidelines from at how this industry has grown over the years, in the initial stage, it was very much proof of concept. I think the challenges in the early days was just to get everyone to kind of understand what this new technology is. And being in the financial industry, this is even ever more important because we are a regulated industry and things like standardized framework and formal operations that is very resilient is very important, right? Now, back to your question about why now. So I guess why now is that this proof of concept is increasingly being evolved to much more of a proof of value. More mainstream players, whether corporates, institutions, or even regulators, are more interested to evolve together. So we are seeing many more players coming into this space. And I think finally, the technology is credible enough for us to look at how this can evolve in a very safe and stable way. Because of that, the treasury business is also following that same pace.
It's great to hear that you are considering is moving from a pilot stage to a practical stage where we operate institutions to adopt this technology in a scalable manner. In fact, we actually operate extensively in ASEAN countries, helping consumers and merchants moving money in and out of these countries. Efficiency, cost, transparency are very important to us. So what practical use cases are emerging beyond the pilot programs?
From what I see and being in the financial industry and listening to what you have said earlier about tokenized assets and tokenized deposit, I 100% agree with you that tokenized deposit is the digital asset to start with. What I'm seeing right now, and not because I work in Treasury, is the fact that tokenized deposit is bank deposit. It works on the same banking system. The trust element is there, the confidence of its usability is there. Today, the financial industry is fragmented. The challenges that exist in the past has not changed. Liquidity is still very much fragmented. Cross-border transactions still have friction, and processes and procedures are still very much time-bound. I find that tokenized deposit, if we're able to move things not just faster, but in a more precise manner, will able to resolve some of these challenges that exist. So Kelvin, that's my perspective. What do you think? I mean, you have the breadth of experience of seeing this in a much more broader sense. You have seen it internationally on a global scale. What do you think about my perception of the challenges and the fact that tokenized deposit could solve this issue?
I'm very excited to hear this from a leading bank from ASEAN. In fact, I agree with you that tokenized bank deposit is actually the backbone of further tokenization in the treasury management or even in the entire financial service. For example, in treasury management, so we have many activities like foreign exchange, liquidity management, cash investment. For these activities, shall be upgraded to the future, for example, that can all operate 24/7 instantly at a lower cost, much more transparent. You will need a settlement mechanism to support them. For example, we're looking at real-time FX. I mean, not only real-time trading, but also real-time settlement of FX, which support people travel from here to Singapore or from Hong Kong to KL. Another example of investment. We hope that we can invest our surplus liquidities around the globe, not only from 9 to 5 p.m., but also around the clock from various financial hubs in Asia. So I believe tokenized bank deposit, which support the cross-border settlement, will be the fundamental backbone, support us to run a real-time 24/7 global treasury, I believe, driving towards the future of treasury, but also support the future of financial service.
I agree with you, Calvin. Coming from a treasurer's perspective, I think mobilizing and optimizing the liquidity is ever so important. And I do think that tokenization actually helps that. For example, today, given that liquidity is fragmented, I think that it is not optimal the way we manage liquidity around the system. I don't think that liquidity is scarce, it's just poorly mobilized.
Well, you are right. Most of the treasurers which manage a global business will probably turn to echo your points. Our pain points in the global liquidity management is when to allow liquidity to stay in the place where you need it at the time you need it.
Yes.
And in the currency that they want and in the bank that you need to make the payout. These will require two technologies. One is the blockchain, one is the AI. AI will allow us to predict where we need the money, but the blockchain and the tokenized bank deposit that we are co-creating will allow the money to move to that place almost instantly to support merchant settlement or a customer want to withdraw their surplus liquidity in a e-wallet.
Yeah, we're all really excited about this. And just coming back to the title at hand, from pilot to production, I think just being in this region for ASEAN, the reason why we're in many of these pilot sandbox use cases is that we are in the regulated industries. We definitely need to work together with the regulators of each of the localized countries that we operate in, and that is ever so important. I think regulators in ASEAN are very encouraging, very supportive. I do think that digital adoption within ASEAN is very high. I think the intention to move to a much faster digital platform is definitely there, but the pace needs to be staged.
I can't agree more. I want to address this probably in two perspectives. One is from customer demand perspective. We do need a 24/7 instant settlement arrangement in ASEAN or in Asia Pacific because, as you said, the digital economy has been developed over the last decades. So people here has already get used to mobile payments, to QR code payments. They get used to real-time money experience domestically. So now the intra-country activity within this region are increasing. So people are demanding this experience to be extended when they actually go cross-border and actually shopping or doing cross-border business activities. So the real demand is there to allow money of ASEAN currencies to move cross-border 24/7 instantly. While the tokenization has enabled some of the major currencies like US dollar to move across the border 24/7 instantly for a few years. We want to use the co-creation with you to enable the local currency like ringgit to be able to realize the last mile effect, to be more efficient, to be able to support a 24/7 instant transaction. Secondly, let's look at the supply side, as you said. By working with you, by working with regulators over here, we understand the regulators already had good understanding of this technology. And also, we want to work with you to follow the local regulatory guidance, understand the unique FX regimes of this particular country, actually being able to create something within the regulatory framework can actually follow the existing regulation, benefit the economy.
I totally agree with you, which is why I think partnership like ours is very important. I think from CIMB's perspective, we bring client relationship, we bring regulatory alignment, and we bring balance sheet. From Anne's perspective, I would say you bring technology, you bring the ecosystem reach, and you bring the client experience. So I totally agree with you. I think partnerships like ours is very important.
Coming back to our today's topic, bring tokenized bank deposit beyond the pilot stage. I think the key reason that we work together and may be able to achieve that is because we have use cases.
Yeah.
We have use cases in the region. We have use cases from our users, from our merchants, and from these economic activities. This gives me, to some extent, an urgency to bring this to this market.
Yes.
And to work with you. I think we'll have a great experience driving this towards delivery. And I'm also confident this will also create a future business model for financial institution like you and for payment or technology company like us, be able to create a new business model serving our merchants with a better experience and also with a reasonable commercial models to allow this to be sustained.
I totally agree with you, Kelvin. The intent is there, the desire is there, and the capacity is there for us to scale this up together. So Kelvin, from my perspective, you've heard about our kind of onshore challenges in terms of coordination, processes, fragmentation of the liquidity. From your perspective, can you maybe share a little bit about your experience in terms of some of the real challenges that's facing this industry today?
In the tokenization space, we did see many projects end up at the proof of concept stage, unable to go to scalable adoption. We went through this process in the last 5-6 years and probably have 3 experiences we can share. And also these are the 3 principles we have been adopted to supported us to go through the journey and now become one of the early adopter in scale globally. I believe the first one is compliant innovation. Innovation around blockchain actually started from the Web3 industry. Many of them are start with the Web3 industry without close cooperation with regulators. From day one, we started the Whale Treasury platform. We started to share this with relevant regulators. What is our pain points? What are the technology we want to adopt? What are the risks we may be facing? And what are the roadmaps down the road? To enter into other sandbox or innovation projects led by the regulators to allow us to be able to create innovation in a compliant manner. I believe this is not only important to us, which are also important to our partners like you, to allow us to work together with your regulator and then to not only do this with a proof of concept and then be able to drive this gradually from proof of concepts to a scalable adoption or even to the future complete business operation of this innovative product. And the second approach we adopted is use case driven, relevant to technology driven. We saw some other people started together with us, start this because they're fancy of a new technology. They wanted to try the technology itself, rather than they actually link this technology to a real world use cases and try to address them internally. So if you are tech driven, often in the second year after you prove of concept, you will face challenge of getting continuous support from your organization or even from the regulators to support you to continue to implement it to more use cases and to expand the project. Well, because we started this to solve our point in the settlement of our cross-border payment. So we are lucky that we can actually gradually expand it to one corridor to another, to one use cases, to more use cases, so that we become one of the scalable adoption on a global level. Last but not least, we also adopted a open and interoperable model rather than a closed-door model. We actually had our model and our technology open to our partners and also use it to support our ecosystem partner and friends. So through this approach, so we get increasingly more and more partners from all parts of the world and serving our businesses also around the globe. So now we are having like 16 currencies as operation, more than 200 entities has been enrolled in the Wheel blockchain treasury platform, and we have close to 1,000 bank accounts, which are able to enable 24/7 real-time money movement. These are coming from our experience. I believe this could also be applied to our corporation, allow us to follow the compliant environment, compliant innovation, open and interoperable, and use case driven. I believe if we follow these three principles, we will be able to extend our cooperation to a much more scalable scope and develop in a more scalable way.
Totally agree with you and looking forward to that partnership.
As we have started our co-creation, where do you see the biggest opportunities in the next few years?
From where I am sitting, I think that the biggest opportunity comes from number one, cross-border treasury business, as what you have mentioned. I think that's very relevant. Number two, liquidity optimization. I think, as I mentioned earlier, liquidity is not scarce, it's just poorly mobilized. If we are able to mobilize that much more, it becomes so much more cost efficient and balance sheet efficient for us to do that.
And agree more.
Yes, exactly. And programmable finance. So for us right now, the fact that tokenization leverages on the benefits of smart contracts and the ability to program important information and have that information transmit in the most efficient manner 24/7, any point in time, it's a very valuable characteristic of financial markets. So if I'm able to harness all these three things, and I feel sequentially, which means that tokenized deposit has to come out first. The rails have to be created first, and then we optimize the liquidity using the existing digital asset as well as the rails. And then we do programmable finance to develop products against it. That would be very powerful for the industry indeed.
I want to echo you on the programmability. We also see great potential in programmability, and then the programmability capability has potential, has not been fully digged out yet. I think to explore this in the treasury or entire financial service will greatly actually allow the existing financial activities to happen, to innovate much faster by this technology, will also help us to be able to create new, more dynamic way of serving our use cases We believe this is going to be a major point of growth in the next few years. Can't agree more.
Exactly. We'll do it together. Calvin, I have a question for you. If we were to revisit this in a couple of years, what would success look like to you?
I believe, firstly, we look forward to have more and more flows to operate on the Whale blockchain treasury platform. I think last year we have moved 45% of our global money movement on the blockchain platform. I hope our cooperation can drive more and more flows, higher penetration of our global money movement onto this blockchain-based 24/7 instant platform. I hope by joining force with CIMB, we can cover more and more ASEAN currencies and ASEAN liquidity movements onto blockchain, make liquidity movement among the ASEAN region much more efficiently to support our users and merchants to allow the cross-border payment within the region faster and probably more cost-effective for them. Last but not least, we hope we can co-create programmable money and programmabilities on the blockchain, which enable not only money movement, but more and more treasury or even financial services onto the blockchain. For example, we may do real-time foreign exchange to allow FX to be settled without limitation of cut-off time in the region. And we probably can also do real-time investment, which allow us to invest our surplus liquidities around the clock from here with the access of our global financial market without the limit of cut-off time, and be able to also operate instantly. So the liquidity will be more and more coming to this region because this is preferred place to manage our treasuries, manage our money. Many more could be happening. Looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that.
So thank you, Sylvia. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we can work more. And your sharing was very insightful. Look forward to work with you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.